You're watching MCC Live to you, cultural programming at your fingertips. My name is Mecca, aka Grimo, and I want to take you on a poetic journey through a historical timeline about the rich culture of Ayiti. Our history is so hidden that those with blind eyes never realize how much we've contributed to the cause. If you can just for a moment pause and think back to 1804, the first successful slave rebellion, we made all the difference. Les chasseurs volontaires de Saint-Domingue, Haitian soldiers who fought for American independence at the siege of Savannah in 1779. To neglect this recognition would be a crime. At a time when slaves were being sold, these bold men fought for colonies that were oppressing them. So today, we fight to build a monument to honor them, to let them know that we acknowledge them. Their legacy is what makes our history so rich. A platoon of Haitian soldiers left out of the history books. So as Haitian descendants, it is our obligation to research, archive historical events and facts that may have fell through the cracks. The Savannah Monument Project, not just an object, but a monument which symbolizes something that we as people lack inside. And that's to have honor, respect, dignity, and pride. What was told to us was lies, unveiled. Now watch how our beautiful Haitian history prevails. Thank you. I wrote that with the inspiration of the late Daniel Filzeme, rest in peace, of the Haitian American Historical Society, president, CEO. And he basically realized that monument in Savannah, Georgia. If you go to Franklin Square in Savannah, Georgia, there's a monument of about 5 or 6 Haitian soldiers that was a contribution to the over 500 soldiers that fought in the American Revolutionary War, and that was my contribution poetically. I wasn't born in Ayiti, but Ayiti was born in me. I'm a first-generation Haitian who was also a part of the immigrant migration. My parents came here in search of a better life. Seeking salvation, they moved to the States, and a risk many are willing to take, and the ones that do, by example, lead, and that brings us to where I was conceived. A place called Brooklyn, New York. Yes, I was born there, but still had the fear of acknowledging my own true Haitian culture. I moved to Queens when I was 6, and the same mind tricks that called me refugee haunted me and made me not want to be Haitien. So how can I smile when my people are being made fun of? I'm asking all my fellow peers, where's the love? Silly stereotypes which stab at my self-esteem, trying to submerge me in the strong currents of the Atlantic. When my parents would go to parent-teacher meetings, I'd panic. Because when you heard my father's heavy Haitian accent, that meant that I'd be the joke of the class the next day in school. Boat people, refugee, HBO, just to name a few. What was I supposed to do? So I crawled back in my shell all the while, still in denial of all of the rich history that Ayiti had to offer to the world. It wasn't until I moved to Miami and I was already in my teens, I found out Ayiti was the first independent black empire in the world. In the Antilles, we were considered the pearl. So I started to research some more, document, archive, historical events and facts that fell through the cracks. No longer will I hide behind these silly stereotypes that would denounce the legacy of my ancestors. Now I'm conducting educational workshops to the youth that once thought like me. I wasn't born in Ayiti, but Ayiti was born in me. Thank you. I wrote that piece and shared that piece because I felt there were a lot of, for the lack of better words, Haitian Americans that are Haitian to the heart, Haitian in their blood, but because we were born here, maybe looked upon different or didn't make that connection right away because of all of the stereotypes and the stigma that took place here in America and here in the States that we had to endure. Nobody could understand that experience except the ones that went through that experience. And so I wrote that out of a poetic expression of that. Freed out of bondage, you have to pay homage. The most illustrious war, 1804, never done before. So I quantum leap to 1784. We talked about breaking the chains, breaking the pain. But since our struggle, it's never been the same. I sat at the ceremony, 1791, Bois-Caïman, a brother named Bookman of African descent, shipped to Jamaica, then Haiti he went. A ceremony took place to erase all the scars that took place. Now the war has finally begun to be free. Independence! By any means, led by Dessalines, field of many dreams, haunted by bloody screams just to preserve mountainous greens. Negmawan, in military attire, no guns, we still exchange fire. We ignite the minds of young writers and gave birth to revolutionary fighters. A quote from Dessalines, Liberté ou la mort. Death before, dishonor no more. How could a young country be so poor? They stole our riches, embarked on our shores, twisted our laws, but we fought for the cause. In 1804, the flag was sown. Now the true bleu rouge is flown. It said, l'union fait la force. The French army thrown off course. They underestimated us, and that's why they lost. Napoleon Bonaparte's army torn apart. To true generals, war is an art. Tattooed the coat of arms in my heart. Ayiti chérie, you in my heart. Sat in the cipher of the circle of the spark. First free black republic, we made our mark. And you can tell, you can see and feel the passion I had when I wrote that poem. It was about the revolution. It was about all that we had to combat against. Being outnumbered, out-equipped, but not out-honored and not out-spirited. And so on January 1st, 1804, we declared our independence. We defeated the French army. On November 18th, 1803, La Bataille de Vertières. And on January 1st, 1804, Emperor Jean-Jacques Dessalines declared Haiti the first independent black nation in the world. I need a little help with this poem here. Ma besoin de assistance. I'm going to say the first line and I'm going to need you to help to repeat it. Okay, so this way you get to learn the poem and learn a little Creole too. I might speak a little Creole. You get to learn. All the non-Creole speakers, can recite a little poetry in Creole. All right. So I'm going to say something and you repeat after me. Way. Make way, Haitian buffalo soldier. Led by Dessalines, the greatest army on the scene. In 1803, we defeated the French. Then we declared our independence. It was a year of remembrance. We said it in less than a sentence. L'union fait la force. Soldiers who put their lives on the line at all costs. 200 plus years later, nap bataille toujours. Papa mak maman mwen te promet nou nan bati yon kay pou nou. Nap tourne Haïti parce que gen plusieurs belles villes. M'pa ka comprendre ki jon bel pays kon sa pa pran fil. Tout moun ap gade nou politique nou fragile. Yon bo apre le yo sot, l'autre bo ap di imbécile. C'est pour nous mettre tête nous ensemble garçon ak femme. Diviser un plan fait le marché, c'est petit nous qui pral bénéficier. You see, there's never been a struggle without the fight. So as I bring you closer to my heritage, I hope you see the light. La Bataille de Vertières, 12 years in the making, breaking the whips that crackle, breaking the chains and shackles, reorganizing the capital's castle, rebuilding the church's chapel. You see, I do this for the love of my country. It's never a hassle. Haïti, 1804. Ça c'est pour tous ancêtres yo qui te fait sacrifice ça pour nous. So jodia, nous ka jouer un pi bon jour. You're watching MCC live to you. Cultural programming at your fingertips. My name is Mecca, aka Grimo, and it has been a pleasure sharing my poetry and historical education with you. Thank you.